Hi, welcome to
The first episode of.
Dad, I love you, but
Ooh.
we've been talking about this one for a while, right?
Yeah.
We,
I'm so
we
excited to get this started off and this off the ground.
yeah, actually we've been looking forward to this for quite some time. It's I mean, I feel it's crazy that we're actually doing it, right? Like
So what's new? How was Garba last night?
Garba was great. I had a great time. I was out with friends. We were actually up until like 3 in the morning just talking. It ended at like 11, but you know how it is.
I know.
You're out with friends. You go to somebody's house and you're just chitting and chatting. You're just chitting and chatting. You know what
Yeah,
I'm.
I know exactly what you mean. It somehow or the other the hours just melt away, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It just you just lose track of time. Time flies when you're having fun with friends.
I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
hear you.
you also had you were also hosting last night. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a couple home, and me and Shamal were together, and it was a very relaxed evening, and also some good conversation. Friends had just returned from India, and so there was conversations about India, their trip up there, some back and forth on what's happening there, what's happening here. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. We were also talking about India last night, just in general, because, all of my friend group, as you know, listeners at home may not know, but we share a friend. They're all family friends, basically. So I'm friends with the kids of my dad's friends, basically. So, and we're all Indian. I mean, it's not like a requirement or anything, but, it's just how it ends up happening. And we also ended up talking about India a little bit, which was
Oh yeah, yeah. We also ended up talking a little about what their kids are facing, and some of the challenges, especially some of the challenges associated with house and purchasing of houses, etc. But tell me, I hear some exciting news on your front in that regard. What?
yeah, yeah, it's true. I'm moving again. I've already
Mm.
moved out. Thankfully, I didn't get kicked out. No, I left. I left
I would have
about
enjoyed doing that, though, by the way. You should have given me the pleasure of doing that.
well, yeah, I felt it was my duty to deny you that pleasure.
Okay. All right. So, so,
Um,
so what's happening? Tell me. What's happening? Tell me.
Yeah, so I moved out about December of last year.
Okay.
And I moved to a place that's still relatively close by, but in my own space.
Okay.
It's like in a basically a remodeled garage.
Okay.
I didn't really have a kitchen. I actually I used like a hot plate that plugged in. I had a
Uh-huh.
microwave,
Ah,
the sort of, first, just do whatever make do with whatever you got kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah.
And now I recently found a place. I think it was just like last Monday, not a week ago, but like about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I think, was it? Do you remember? Was it just last Monday?
I think it was
No.
2 weeks ago when you were telling me that you're probably going to see a place, and it's an apartment. What type is it? One
It,
bedroom or what is it?
it's a basement, and it's got like a living room and an apartment. So I'm upgrading from one room to two. Like,
Ooh,
I'm
congratulations.
I'm doubling the number of rooms.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
not counting the bathroom, obviously, but
Okay. Yeah. No, when you're alone, well, even the bathroom counts as a room because you
I
can you can remain in there for a long period of time.
Oh my God, really, really? We're already starting with this. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, it's a little bit of a bigger space, and I'll have more room to entertain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had to break my lease. I'm breaking my lease at the end of the month. Thankfully, my current landlords are very understanding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah, I'm actually very lucky with that. And they they understood, and they let me go at the end of the month.
Good, good.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and I just signed the lease on Thursday. I don't have the keys yet. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
but I'll get it this week, I
Why? Why
hope.
didn't they give you the keys? If you paid
Um,
them.
they're changing the locks so
Oh, okay,
that,
okay, okay.
just so that it's a security concern.
Security thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's better. That's better. Much better if you get it done properly from the outset. You get your keys and you get a proper lock, and then once you move in, you're in there. That's
Exactly.
entirely your area with your stuff. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
what's you said you were last night with your friends, and have all of them moved out also, or several of them are still with parents? What's going on with that?
I think most of them are still with their parents actually.
Okay.
I think I'm not gonna give names because
No, no names here,
no
please.
names,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think all of them are currently still with their parents. I think actually one of them has moved out. One of them has moved out, but
Okay.
out of the six of us, only two of us have moved out.
And what do you
Uh,
think is that reason? I mean, what's happening out there?
Honestly, it is just so expensive to
Yeah.
live by like yourself if you don't have roommates, if you don't, share some sort of space with other people, or if it's not like subsidized in one way, like college,
Yeah,
college
yeah, yeah.
housing is a little bit cheaper. But I think in general, it is just so expensive to live by yourself. And I just think that a lot of people, especially my age, are working and they're saving. And I think a lot of them do want to move out, but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
just it's so attractive to live with your parents right now because of the renting costs. I mean, what was it like for you? Like when you first did you move out? I don't think you moved out, but when you what was your first home like, or first rental, or tell me
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, so when we migrated into the United States, I moved in alone first, and I kind of moved into a I literally remember that I was occupying the a single room, and the restroom I was sharing. So this was a home in which it was the upper level of a home, and it had a back door, and above there were two bedrooms. One was occupied by the owner's son, and they had the other bedroom free. And but that bedroom also had all the kitchenette, and like the refrigerator and all. So it was literally like my a one room studio with a restroom attached to it.
You got to relive those bachelor days.
Yeah, I did. I did. I got a car about a month down the line, and once I had the car, then life became a little easier. But before I got the car, it was really hard. I had friends picking me up. But I do remember that, compared relative to my income, I think the rent was working out to around 8 to 12% of my income. So I was like pretty okay with that. I mean, of course, it was a very small room. I didn't have family or anything, or I didn't have even like as I said, if I took three steps, I was from one end of my home to the other end of my home. But despite that, I think cost wise, as a percentage of my income, I think we were, yeah, it would be around 10%, and then going up, as we went forward. So I think it was a lot easier then as compared to now. I don't know what's the percentage nowadays of of rent as a proportion of your salary. Approximately. What's going on out there in the market.
half half of my salary goes to rent.
Oh my God, that hurt. Oh, you're talking about your net check, right? After taxes and everything. Or is it your gross check? I think
I haven't I think it's my net check. I think it's my
net
net
check,
check.
net check. So for me, it would have been around 15-18% of my net check,
Yeah, but
So
it's 50 with a TY,
my
It,
God, rents have really shot through the roof. No wonder people can't afford it, because otherwise, after that, you have a choice. Either you eat food or you drive a car. You can't do both if you pay that kind of rent. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, I am worried about the day that my car will die on me and then I will have to figure out what to do after that.
yeah, I've been hearing this is happening with a lot of younger people. That it's not that they don't want to move out, but just that the basic income on a lot of professions is not keeping pace with the cost of housing. I mean, just to give you a little bit of statistic, I was listening to some podcasts on real estate, and people who are buying their starter homes, they had mortgage payments, the first mortgage payment, not counting taxes and hazard insurance. Their mortgage payment, the average was around $1,500, and that was like $1,500 was about like 6 years ago. And now, with the increase in the price on real estate and in the increase in the interest rate, that amount has gone up way past 2,700. So and that's a substantial increase, almost 60% plus increase in a matter of 5 6 years. And so what happens is that these real estate prices, when they go up, and then in turn the mortgage payments go up, that drives the rent up, because the persons who are buying the home for rent, they need to cover themselves. So it's a catch-22 situation. So
I
how
Dad, I love you, but I understand what you're saying, but I think that another thing that is a big factor in this is that people are investing in real estate and companies are investing in real estate, right? And then when
yeah.
companies invest in real estate, they expect to make returns, right?
Yeah, well, I think
And
all investors do, right? I mean,
yeah, I agree. I agree. But when people are investing so heavily into real estate, that means that homes are not going to new families,
mhm.
And then
Yeah.
when new families can't get, like, when there's so much competition in the market that new families can't afford housing, they have to rent, and then companies can are in pressured to charge rents that will make them profit because the mortgages are going up, right? So I understand what you're saying, but I'm concerned about, from my perspective, companies and investors more than like the actual. I feel like the price inflation is like a result of this other thing. Does that make sense?
It does, and yet there are actually I'm going to give a bit of a longer answer, a longer point here, because there are three factors out there that are playing a very big role presently. So first thing is, in general, we have a shortage on housing. So we're short by about 1 million new homes across the country, million to some estimates say millions, some estimates say 1.5 million. So basically, we're short on starter homes, like you very correctly mentioned. And what is the reason for the short? Why is there a short? Why are we short these many number of homes? Because it's very typical that a person acquires a home in the neighborhood, and when he's acquiring, he wants to acquire a home in that neighborhood, doesn't want to pay more money for it. But once he acquires it, he starts making things like, oh, we don't want more traffic, we don't want more congestion in our schools, we want our classrooms to have relatively a good ratio of teachers to students. And in using all of those methods, what they do is they restrict permits, and thereby, once they restrict those permits, their prices of their homes go up. So what they're doing is essentially making their wealth go up at the cost of the younger generation who needs to occupy those homes, or the younger families, so it's that is the first factor. Then on top of it, what happened was, in the pandemic we had a supply chain issue. And because we had a supply chain issue, prices ran up. And once prices ran up, there are times when the supply chain is so concentrated with a few players that monopolistic practices have come into play, and that has resulted in those prices not going down even after the supply chains have opened up. So what does that imply? That if there's a replacement cost is much higher on an asset, then its price kind of retains itself. And lastly, and I think this is also a very big factor in real estate, that 25% of the real estate in the country, for those who bought homes pre-pandemic, they not even pre-pandemic, pre-2022, they bought them with a mortgage between 2.5% to 4% for a 30-year fixed rate starter mortgage. And now the rates have gone up to 6 to 7% currently. So if you have bought a home or refinanced it at those rates, now if you sell that home, you lose that mortgage and you get it at a much higher rate. So those people, they don't want to sell. And if they want to move to a bigger home, what they're doing is buying a bigger home, but giving away this on rent rather than selling it. That is constraining all the inventory in the market. So these are some three very big factors which have resulted in that increase that I told you about in the last 5-6 years, almost a 60% increase in the first mortgages. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think that is a more comprehensive look at the housing market for sure. I find it quite interesting that you talked about people saying stuff like, oh, the permits and how they constrain permits
yeah.
and it's quite interesting. I the way I heard those people described as NIMBY. Do you know what that NIMBYs? Do you know what that means?
NIMBYs, okay, what is that?
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard, yeah.
you
Yep,
know
yeah.
so and
You,
I
you use the neighbors.
yeah, exactly, right, exactly, because this is the human thing, right? This is
Yep,
this is
yep.
game theory. This is the Nash Equilibrium. This is the tragedy of the commons. All of this game theory stuff that is like the no it, when it's a collective cost, people don't want to. It is always better to defect in the prisoner's dilemma. All of this sort of
All of those
stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's I think it's while you talk about it, all of that, it's basically a a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. I mean, when you stop believing that everybody else also needs what you have, and you just start focusing on how to protect or preserve what you have, I think things start going in a very wrong direction.
Yeah, I wish everybody thought the way you did.
I am guilty of some of these things myself, but at the same time, I'm trying to find the root cause of things and see if we can eliminate it at society level.
Jeez, that's a little. It's episode 1, Dad. Like, it's episode 1. We're 20 minutes in, and we're already talking about affecting big societal changes. I think it's a little
Okay,
ambitious.
let's just take that back. Okay, let's renegade on that. Let's just talk about changing ourselves. Let's just begin there.
Sure.
And
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, the Gandhi quote comes to mind, where it's like, be the change you want to see in the world, right?
yeah,
So
I agree with you. Yeah, that's what we try to do, right? I mean, that's
that's,
what we're supposed to try to do. Sorry, I shouldn't say that's what we try to do.
that's all we can do. That's all we can
Yeah,
do.
Yeah. And then there is another factor which is also playing a very big role in this, which is that everyone's talking about the fact that there's been inflation, and now that inflation is not coming down really, though the supply chains have opened up. But in pace with this inflation, wages have not kept up, you know. So, therefore, you're kind of, I think that's the main reason that the wages have not kept up with the pace of inflation, and that's kind of that's kind of putting the situation in the way that you are presently experiencing, which is such a high percentage of your paycheck going towards rent, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I would absolutely agree, and I don't know how to reconcile this because I feel personally that the effects of inflation are so great that and minimum wage hasn't kept up, so pay scales haven't kept up, basically. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. It's we call inflation a silent tax, because a person might say that over the last 5 years their income went up 20%. But if the cost of goods and services have gone up 40%, then hey, you're poorer because you can buy lesser and you didn't even do anything for that. I mean, it just happened in the background. So it's like a silent tax on your whole system. And so what's happening in the system today, and this is not something, again, getting a little philosophical. I'm not talking about right, wrong, or otherwise, but what is happening in the last 5, 6 years in the pandemic has been that investment has been rewarded over work. So if you're a working person, the wages that you're getting are not keeping up. But if you're an investor, then whatever you're investing in, whether it be equity markets, whether it be real estate markets, whether it be cryptocurrency, all of those assets are going up in the last 5 years.
Well, let's not talk about crypto. I mean, the crypto bubble was crazy, but it's burst. A lot of people lost a lot of money in crypto, I think. But
Well, a lot of people did lose money, but what also has happened in along with it is that people have regained it. So if you see the price of crypto today, of let's say Bitcoin, it's near close to its high mark. So what happened is that a lot of investors got, in investing terminology, we call it whipsawing. So a lot of investors got whipsaw. So when it rose up to a high very quickly, people got in. And then when it started collapsing, they sold at the low levels. And then it's gone back up again. So someone who held on to it, or someone who kind of traced it properly, was able to make money. Not that I get into Bitcoin, because as you know very well, I don't believe it has any fundamental value, but that's a different story.
yeah, yeah, of course. I personally, I do agree with your points about Bitcoin. I think a lot of other coins that were created, which
Yes.
is really what the crypto bubble was all about, is that any and all people were minting new coins,
Yeah.
and everybody was rushing in because it was the next, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. And I think that a lot of those sorts of, I think they tried to call them projects.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of those have collapsed really, really badly. But I think Bitcoin and probably Ethereum, I don't quote me on this. I have no idea, but I
No,
think that,
Ethereum is still doing well. Ethereum is still doing well. It
yeah,
it kind of keeps up. The other coins, what we were experiencing was that in the private equity market, if you had a business and you were going out to raise money, and you kind of said that, okay, I'm going to raise money, then somebody might say, okay, I'll put in a couple of million. But if you say that I'm going to raise money and I'm going to also, as part of this business venture, I'm going to issue some coins, immediately you would get 20 million available to you. And those kind of things lost a lot of money. You're right.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think going back to your original point, which is about stocks and private equity and stuff like that, excluding crypto, I think, but a lot of the other stuff, the capital is what's making money, as opposed to the worker who is
Yeah.
putting in the effort. and we're disproportionately rewarding the people who are putting up the capital over the workers, right? Is that your point
That
basically?
that's what seems to be happening, at least in the last, even going back up to a decade, And what that does is that who can invest? The person who can invest is the person who has the money. And so the gap between those who have and have nots is keeping on going up because of that.
You call yourself a capitalist, but this is a very, very liberal view. I just want you to be very aware of that. I'm not saying you're a conservative, but you do call yourself a capitalist if I'm not mistaken.
I do believe that capitalism is the way that the world thrives, that new ideas come in, that innovation takes place, that entrepreneurship is a gift that the universe gives to a people to be able to make things better in life, to improve yourself, improve the world, as well as then improve yourself. So yeah, I do believe in capitalism. I do believe that that is a great way. And at the same time, I would say very humbly to you that I do believe in having some kind of minimum standards for those who do work, because it's taking the risk and being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is not necessarily the right thing for everybody. It takes a certain kind of mindset, and it takes a certain kind of situation in your background for you to be able to do that. And if you're not in that space, then you may want to work, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then how is the society rewarding that? That's what I think is important.
Yeah, I actually agree with you because I think a lot of other people who claim to be capitalists would say that only the people who are investing the capital deserve to make the profits. And I don't agree with that, and it seems like you don't either, which is a pleasant surprise, I guess.
Sometimes I'll surprise you.
Hey, it's been almost 27 years, and yeah, but sometimes I surprise you.
Yeah, well, surprise is an understatement. You shock me.
Well, that is my job. That is my job.
Cool. So I think where we're tending towards is that today is there are things to be worked on, in there is a balance to be recreated. I am an eternal optimist, and especially as far as our country is concerned, I do believe in the fundamental theories of the stars and stripes, that we will be able to conquer this also, and get it right. It might take a little time, but we'll get it right.
This too shall pass.
Yes, that's true. Well, I think it's been great doing this, and
Absolutely. This was really fun. I'm glad we finally doing it. We did it. We did one episode, and hey, like let's see where this goes. But it was really, really, really good. I think we did it. We did it. We did the
we
thing.
did it. That's it. All right.
Okay.
Signing off today, and catch you soon. Take
Soon.
care.
Bye.
Bye.